All right.
I'm
You
gonna
do a
look
little
weird because
dynamic TSM knowledge.
Can you see the screen now, Marina?
Sure can. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is what it looks like. This is for Robert Brubaker, and essentially it's essentially what you need to do is, do you know how to download a dynamic of your accounts out of CRM?
I do.
Okay, so just for the purposes of us recording, I'm going to walk you through this. So if somebody else does not know how to do it, then they can follow this video. So let me pull up my, here we go. Okay, so I'll use Graham here. I don't know if you can see that on his.
Yeah, I tried to make the spreadsheet, but I couldn't find two of the fields. So this will be good.
So anybody that's just so we know, like this right here is showing Graham, one of my TSMs out here. These are all his accounts that are tied to him. One thing is you do need to make this dynamic. It's only going to show when you download this whatever fields you have in here. So right now it's got the company name, and then I had changed it to include current year-to-date fiscal, last year fiscal sales, like total. Because that's really important. That to me, that's a key importance, because if you do year-to-date last year fiscal sales, it could give you a false sense of growth from a new business perspective. So it's important to have last year fiscal sales like total, and then I had like the fiscal growth and attrition in here. So if anybody's just curious, the one way to add like a column if you don't have that view in there is you can just right click, add columns. You'll come in here, you'll scroll down to where it says user defined fields. And this is where there's a lot of stuff in here, but this is where you could go like, let's say we wanted to do current. Let me scroll past all this stuff here. So like current year-to-date calendar sales. If you for some reason want to have a calendar look at it, you could just click it. You click the add, it's going to move it over, and it's going to pop up as one of the columns here. And then you just need to remind yourself to go to filter up in the top right and click save filters or save as a new view if you want to save it as a new view. And it'll make sure it saves that view that you're looking at. So that's important. You got to set, this is sort of the like foundation to make this sheet work. You got to have the right columns in there. Otherwise, when it goes to pull the data, it's not going to do it correctly. So and I'll show you, let me switch back here to the dynamic.
So did you start with the year-to-date fiscal sales report that we've mostly created?
Yeah, so one of the things, like, I'll show you in this report, like these are the views you need to have in CRM before you download the dynamic. You need to have the current year-to-date fiscal sales. You'll see this kind of column E here. And then you have to have last year-to-date fiscal sales. And then it's also important to have that last year total sales. That's this column I for down on new business. Otherwise it won't pull the data correctly. And so what happens is, that order, correct? It doesn't necessarily have to be in that order, because because you could actually go in here, and if you look, I just clicked on last year-to-date sales. It's a VLOOKUP formula. So anybody that doesn't know VLOOKUP, what it's doing is it's looking over in column B for this AZ air conditioning and heating, and it's going over to the other tab. Let me move this out of the way. So this other Brubaker tab, and looking for that AZ air conditioning, and then he's pulling, whatever column we're trying to pull. So in this
Can you go back to that question on that screen? Can you go back to the Brubaker account? Okay, so this report here, is this one necessary, or pulling from your spreadsheet on the other tab?
Yeah, so this what you're looking at right now. This is actually the dynamic. This is what you'll download, right? This is what you'll have.
Okay.
You'll have I cleaned it up on his. I had company name, last year fiscal sales, last year year-to-date fiscal sales, current year-to-date fiscal sales, and then the account number. You don't really need all the other stuff, but this is the dynamic sheet. This is what will get updated every single day. You don't even have to go look at your dashboard, in fact.
So
You see right here, I got my, yeah.
Sorry, when it comes to marketing type, and if you scroll to the right, those are the ones,
Yeah.
marketing, and there's like one other option on the right. I wasn't able to find as a drop-down option when you're adding columns.
I think I had actually just, it should be in there. Hold on, let me go back and look at.
I'm just curious what the actual field name is, because I didn't find that one.
I mean, unless you really want marketing type, we didn't leave it in there because it's just, add-on replacement stuff. Sometimes the data in there is bad, meaning like it'll say a contractor's multifamily. In reality, they're AOR. I mean, it's really up to you, but I think the real, this sheet right here that you're looking at, the dynamic tool, is the one that is, this is the one that is going to be updated. If you look under here under the data tab, see I have at the top the data ribbon open, and it says refresh from Dynamics 365. When you just save this to your desktop, and what will happen is every morning, once this is all set up and done, and you have all the formulas correct, you will just come in here and hit refresh, and all these numbers, for fiscal year, last year fiscal sales, last year year-to-date fiscal sales, everything will be updated as of like the previous day's sales, essentially. Some of my TSMs have started asking me to like add more views into this, and I can definitely do that. But I just kind of wanted to give, a quick overview of how this functions. So it's important to have the CRM set up correctly. So when you do download the dynamics, it's going to actually pull it over to this second tab here. So let me go back to Brubaker's here so you can see that. So his is set up, right? I have all the, I've taken the time, I've got the columns I want in there, and everything's good to go. This is where, if you go to the top right, you'll see my mouse here on export to Excel. And this is where you're going to click, export to a dynamic worksheet. Give it a minute. It's going to take a second to pull it up. Go ahead, export. If you want to mess with the columns, you can. I left because I already had it set up in here. I just left everything alone. And then it should say, hey, it's downloading. Click view downloads. You're going to want to open that file. Let me share my screen. It's going to be easier to do that. Once it downloads, you're going to want to open that file and give it a second here. Oh, there we go. So now you look at this. This is what got downloaded, right? It's just his accounts with the columns I had in there. You always want to make sure you enable editing. Don't click off of that. Actually click enable editing. That's really important. When it says security warning, external data connections have been disabled, you want to enable content. If you don't do that, it's not going to work. It's not going to function correctly. That's basically saying, hey, you want to keep open the communication between this sheet and what's in CRM. What you can't see here, not to get super technical, but what you can't see here is, you see how this first column is actually labeled D. There's A, B, and C are hidden, and that's what's creating the connection back to Microsoft CRM. So like if I was to unhide that, there's a bunch of data in here. I wouldn't recommend messing with any of that, because if you do mess with it, it might not work correctly. So I just so people like understand, that's sort of where the quote unquote, magic happens. So once you have this, then you're going to want to create a second sheet here. And I gave you Brubaker's as an example, correct? Right?
Yeah.
I gave you a copy of. So this is where you're going to want to take, save that dynamic sheet, whatever you want to name it, file, save as, save it. I recommend saving it to your desktop so you can easily get a hold of it. I'm just going to call this test dynamic for the sake of this call right here. I spell that right. I don't know if I spelled it right. Once you do that, you want to create another sheet. You add the plus button. Go back to that sample one I did for Brubaker's, and make sure you have this tab open right here. This is that tab that we have the view all set up, and this is where you're going to right-click, move or copy, and you're going to take this is labeled Robert Brubaker Fiscal 19 tab in this worksheet. I'm going to actually move it to test dynamic, right? I'll have it at the end. Gonna hit OK. And then if you'll notice at the top here, test dynamic now has that tab with the Brubaker accounts. Move this over a little bit. And then you have to do a little cleanup. Once you do this, it's going to take you about 15-20 minutes. You have to clean up the formulas, but once you do it, you will not have to do it again. And then you'll be good for the rest of the year. The only thing that's might possibly mess up formulas is if, let's just say, Marina, you add a new account, like you do a new CMMF, or you do a sales ID change to your ID. You're going to need to manually add that account name in here, and then pull the formulas down to make sure it actually recognizes it.
Okay.
I haven't figured out a way to actually get it to auto